I do think that there are some very big differences in the first and the second wave. And that's obviously we definitely know a lot more about the pandemic now. And I have a better outlook, I think, on how our country is doing this time around versus last time. I believe that the whole first wave was just full of uncertainty. And it was a period in which we were all kind of scared and just scrambling to figure out what was going to happen. But now I feel that we have a hold on it. Now, I know Canada in terms is not doing like as well as some other countries around the world are, but I feel like we have a good grasp on it. And I think that we're at the tail end of it. And hopefully soon we'll be back to normal or whatever normal is.
The second wave was when we could see a lot less people putting in effort to stay safe. The first wave was when you could really see, especially during the lockdown, you could see people staying at home, coming up with interesting ways of staying entertained during the time. You could also just see people taking the laws more seriously and just really putting in their full effort to stay safe. And in the second wave was really when COVID was at its peak, it was at its worst point, and the country really needed its people, but we've just shunned them away.
Overall, the two waves are quite similar. Like, you're in lockdown, you have to stay home, you can't really go anywhere. Schools are in like hybrid mode, quite similar in that sense. But I find that my attitude towards the pandemic, or like my motivation in general, has changed. I feel like at the start of the pandemic, it's like we had school, I would do school in my bed. I would not even get out of my bed. I'd be there with my laptop listening to my teacher. And then just less motivation, because I think it hit me so hard. It's like, what is going on in the world? Because it's like you had never seen anything like it, where everything stops. And so I think it mentally, physically, everything, it just hit me really hard. So I guess that's me in the first wave. And then in the second wave, you're more used to the precautions, that when you leave the house, you have to have your mask, your sanitizer, everything there. You're used to online school now, so I feel more motivated to actually do my work, because I have a lot of it. So I think in that sense, my mindset has changed between the two waves. But other than that, they're both during a pandemic, your actions are not going to change that much, but I guess it's my mindset that has changed.
I'm from Manitoba, so for us it felt really sudden. I remember very clearly it was a Friday, and suddenly everything was different, and then the next week we just didn't go to school, and it was like that until the end of the year. So it was so new, and I feel like the first wave, I know a lot of people were really badly affected, but personally it almost felt like it just felt really new and different, so it didn't feel like a bad thing to me. And the weather was getting nice, so I was going outside and I was walking, and I was going outside and running and getting exercise and stuff like that. So for me personally, it didn't feel like a bad thing, like the first wave. And then it was summer, and in Manitoba in the summer we didn't have a lot of cases, so I was obviously staying outside. We weren't hanging out inside, but me and my friends would go out together and stuff like that. So we were aware of COVID being around, but it didn't feel terrible to me anyway. And then second wave comes around, and we had a really bad second wave in Manitoba. So we had our lockdown. School was not great. I did move to online school, and Manitoba winters are famous, so it got really cold and it got really dark, and so it just felt a lot more depressing, I think.
I've found the second wave to be a lot more exhausting, just because all the restrictions and not seeing people, and the whole COVID deal is kind of depressing and weighing on everything, right? And especially when we watch some other parts of the world. I have a good friend in Australia from when I lived there, and they're going back to regular life, so it's kind of hard when this is still going on. It kind of wears.
So Ontario, which is the province where I'm from, has been one of the biggest hotspots for COVID-19 for both the first and the second wave. So I definitely felt the impact of a lot of businesses and recreational places closing during the lockdown. For example, my family recently started ordering more groceries online as opposed to going into the stores just to be more safe. And I dance, so my dance studio had to close during the lockdowns as well, which meant I had to do classes in my basement for a couple of weeks, so that was not very fun.
My family was fortunate to be able to still be financially stable throughout the lockdown, and I am so thankful for that. But I feel like my life personally didn't really get affected a lot, but I really feel for like the businesses having to close down because of the lockdown. And the lockdown also, I guess, tested my friendships with a lot of people, because we went from like seeing each other 5 days a week to maybe like only online calls or text, and it really tested my friendships with a lot of people. But I'm glad the ones that were true to me stayed. So yeah.
It did reduce my physical movements a lot, but also made me creative with ways to look after friends and family. I focus on taking more classes because I don't need to move from place to place.
So for me, right, I was out many hours during the day. You know, there was obviously school, right? It was your like 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. school, but I would usually get there a little bit earlier. And after school, I would stay behind for at least like 2 hours every single day doing extracurricular activities, etc. So I was spending 10 hours per day outside of home, right? And even on the weekends, I would go work because I had a job, or I would go out for some other event that had to do with extracurriculars. And then lockdown happened, and I wasn't doing any of that. I was at home for like 2 to 3 months. I literally did not leave the house for 2 to 3 months. So that was really crazy. And when you don't leave your house, right, for me, my sleep schedule got really bad, because with school, if you're waking up at 7 a.m., you need to sleep. You have to have a consistent sleep schedule. Lockdown, it's like, okay, you're inside, there's no rules, there's nothing, especially there was no school, right, for like a month or so. It was just like, okay, you're in your room, but like do whatever you want. You sleep whenever you want, you can eat whenever you want, right? So it was just a complete shift in my routines and everything.
When Ottawa was locked down in March, and then again recently in December, and then a few times in between, it was not a huge change for me. A lot of the stuff was just, you keep doing what you're doing, but you do it from home. So I take piano lessons. Instead, I would take them over FaceTime. It was a little bit different in that way, less going out. You see more of your own four walls of the house a lot more often. But I think the biggest change in the provincial lockdowns for me was, again, the normalcy of like going to school and seeing your friends and then hanging out with people on the weekend. Like you lose a lot of that. And then initially, personally, I'm kind of introverted. I don't mind sitting around and reading all weekend long. But after every constant weekend of that, you feel like you're losing something, and no amount of online conversation can really replace that in-person connection you feel. It's been a little bit emotionally tolling, especially since no one's ever had to deal with this level of isolation before. And it's like, I'm okay with it, but I would really like to also see people.
Pretty badly, actually. So my schedule pre-COVID was based on like extracurriculars. I had band, multiple types of band, like every day. So I would pretty much wake up, I'd be up at 6 a.m. I'd be in school by 7:30 because that's when band would start. And my actual school starts at 9 and it ends around 3. But then after 3, I would usually end up staying for another hour and a half to like 5 hours, depending on what the extracurricular or the sport was, or if we had a concert. So I spent a lot of time at school. On weekends, I would almost always be downtown or with my friends, and none of that has happened since the pandemic started. For my extracurriculars, the ones that kept running are still at the same time. So my schedule's actually kind of the same, but I have a lot more free time because some of my ACs did get canceled.
Like maybe I wake up like 6:30 or something, and then breakfast and then go to school. Sometimes I have breakfast at school, which start at 8:30. I usually walk with my brother to school, and then pretty much we always arrive early, so we arrive before 8 a.m. and then have breakfast, and then pretty much schools end at 2:45, and then I actually usually stay behind at school in the library to do work, and then usually go back home before 4 p.m. And pretty much usually I do study because I don't have a lot of extracurricular activities here. So if I want to swim, I will go swimming like after dinner. So my pre-COVID life in Canada, because I'm new here in Canada, is pretty boring, like nothing special. But now, like COVID hits, first online school, and during the first lockdown, my first class actually starts at 10 a.m. So I actually wake up later than usual and have more sleep. And I will usually do exercise before class, and then have breakfast, and then sometimes I have breakfast during class, and then until all class finish, I will go out for a daily walk with my relatives because it's spring during that time, and I really explore a lot of nature.
We definitely have school for a lot less time. I'm doing the hybrid model, so I used to go to school for around 6 to 7 hours, but now we only go to school for 4 hours when we come back for lunch, which I love, by the way. I love coming to lunch. I feel like it hasn't changed that much, other than the amount of time I have, like the amount of times I have to go to school. You know, my dance schedule is pretty much the same. And just my extracurriculars have all moved like to remote or to a virtual setting, but nothing really has changed. I definitely think though that I'm definitely getting more sleep. I don't know if that's due to the pandemic or if that's just how it is, but that's something I've seen change.
Recently, I've been loving toast for breakfast. I just put whatever on toast, so like avocado toast, sometimes peanut butter, and berries. Either that or oatmeal. I like oatmeal.
For breakfast, I've either had oatmeal. If I have time, I will make pancakes or French toast. If I'm running out of time, I will usually make yogurt or maybe just a PB&J.
So I've really enjoyed having a cup of matcha in the morning with almond milk with my breakfast, since I find that it really helps me get energized and focused for the rest of my day. So I've really...
My school ends at around 12:30, so then I'll have my lunch. In my family, lunch is just leftovers from the day before's dinner, so that's what I have.
I'll eat lunch. I might eat like pasta. Sometimes I'll eat like noodles, maybe like sandwiches, so like your typical lunch food.
I do think that because like of like the extra time or like extra creativeness that COVID has given us, I tried like new stuff a lot. Like I tried cooking like Greek food and like, different types of pasta, and like sometimes I watch TikTok, so like all the TikTok food trends, like whipped coffee or like the feta pasta or something like that.
I always look for a different new inspiration on YouTube because I'm obsessed with food. So I always like think about what to cook the next morning, what to cook the next afternoon. I always do like meal planning, and I always go to the supermarket to discover some new food. So I made omelet rice, and I also make tteokbokki with like some veggies. Also make like Korean bibimbap because I'm obsessed with Korean food. And I think most importantly is like you enjoy the process of cooking and enjoy the process of eating too. I think that's really important.
My family is Vietnamese, so I have a lot of Viet food.
We cooked a lot. I learned how to make pad thai, which turns out to be like one of my favorite things.
So my school classes right now are hybrid, like you. And what the hybrid model means for me is I am taking, over the course of 2.5 months, I take 2 courses. Each week is a different course, and I'm in school every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The next week I'm in school on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So I enjoy that sometimes I don't have to wake up as early because of the hybrid model. Right? If I'm in the cohort that's staying home, I can sleep in a little bit.
Our school does something called octomesters, which is basically you do half of your course in 2 weeks, and then you do half of all 8 courses, and then you come back and do the other half of all 8. So I personally think it was sabotage because we would do one half of the course and then come back 8 months later and forget everything. So I definitely found that a big challenge. And since all courses were super condensed, it felt like summer school.
The cohort system has almost split everyone, so I don't see half the people I know, but I see the other half, and it's caused a lot of like difficulty in just keeping in touch with people. I feel like networking is like, it's such an important skill. Having friends is so important, but then the way everything's being split up and divided, it's like, I don't see you anymore, and it's a lot harder to keep in touch.
It is definitely a new situation, a new venture for everyone. And I think the biggest challenge that I really had was adapting to it. Going from straight up being in class all the time, seeing my friends every day, learning in a traditional environment to learning in a not so traditional environment online. My biggest tip for time management and for learning through the pandemic would be to really just look at it and really focus on it. But then if you don't get it the first time, take a step back and reflect on it.
Some challenges I've encountered is definitely the willpower to push myself to get work done. And this is difficult since I do school in the same place as I rest, so sometimes it is difficult to draw that line. A few tips I would give, I guess, is to try out like those real-time study vlogs on YouTube and just put it in the background. This way you'll feel like less lonely, and sometimes it'll motivate you to like keep on studying. Or you could also keep a journal, since we don't have like teachers beside us to like kind of nag us to do our work or finish our assignments.
I have more free time right now because before the pandemic we always have like co-curricular activities after school. We always have so many different activities that I have to attend. Even when I was in Hong Kong, I have like so many meetings. Every day is just really busy. But now I have like more free time. I'd be like, what am I supposed to do? For me, I always do a to-do list because I think it really helps me to check up everything that I have to do, and also reminds myself to be productive every day.
I think one of the challenges of studying at home is that it kind of feels optional when it's not. My main distractor is my phone. So I like to take time lapses of me studying or me doing my work, because when I'm doing a time lapse, if I pick up my phone to do something, it's going to ruin the time lapse and it's not going to be as satisfying when it comes out. So that's really helpful. And filming myself working also encourages me to like set up a nicer study space, which helps like clear my head. And so I'm not like in my bed, I'm actually making an effort.
I started a nonprofit during the pandemic, like you guys here, and I think that's been my, I don't know, like that's like my favorite experience in the world, because like in these times when it's so difficult for everyone to like come together, physically or virtually or emotionally or any way, I think it's amazing how like people like us, like just regular people, can make something so concrete and like join people together and like lift each other up, rather it's through like newsletters from Race to a Cure, or through through anything like Auxilium's mentorship program. Like I think that's so important to see. So that's something that I've been excited with. I tried to start a photography business, but that's more difficult because you can't do that online.
I think definitely because I still do lab research, but since it's on a pause, I really enjoy just experimenting with things. So I did get into baking, and I think I've gotten fairly good at it. I hope. But when I'd be baking, I'd feel like a chemist, and I'd be making all of these cool desserts, and I'd feel bliss. And also in July, I created this organization called STEM Power, which is basically for young people to get a better understanding of STEM related career paths, and just I hosted a whole bunch of webinars where there would be STEM professionals talking, answering questions with youth, and I also have a podcast with a few of my close friends with STEM Power. So I think doing that and just being able to organize the webinar did help me gain a lot of skills in leadership and cooperation, because I had to learn how to work around other people's schedules and work with soft-spoken and loud-spoken people. And I think overall it was a really good experience.
The pandemic in March, the snow was melting, summer was coming out, and I was so eager to get outside because the winters are long and quarantine made it longer. So I like running. I like going out for runs whenever I can. Today the weather was amazing, so I went out for my first outdoor run of the year, and it was the best feeling ever. So during quarantine, I've been able to go out for a lot of runs, explore the local trails. In terms of skills, my friends and I did a hackathon together. We failed miserably, but we did it, and I learned a lot about a few new coding languages. And I think the biggest thing I gained from the pandemic was probably the Race to a Cure community. I initially applied thinking, okay, I want to help, I want to make a use of my time. But then I found such a great group of people, and I've been able to do everything, like from writing articles, making graphics, visualization projects. It's a really, you're not paying me to say this, but I really like it here, and I hope to stay longer. It's a great community. I like our colors. I like our team. I like our bonding events. I like everything. So that's been, I think, a good experience for me. And I was at that point in like June or July where I was like, I just spent 4 months doing basically nothing. Like, what am I giving back? What am I doing with my time? And Race to a Cure was a great way of turning my passions into something that I could give back, which was really helpful.
Just like extracurricular things that were really exciting. Like in August, I started working with the CBC on like a tween platform, and I've been like filming like POVs of my life. So I filmed a video of like what it's like to work at Starbucks. It's like a tween brand and development for the CBC. It's called Recap, and it's like just like a private Instagram community where we like learn more about like what tweens want on the internet, and we're trying to create a positive place on social media. And I've been getting into like making content and like editing and like learning social media and stuff like that. So I just feel like it's like areas I never would have branched out into. I just gotten more in touch with like virtual things.
I tried gardening. It turned out pretty well, and I enjoyed it during last summer. So like summer of 2020. I also tried growing blueberries, and it kind of failed miserably, but my tomatoes turned out well. And yeah, I think I might try that again this summer. I also jumped on my trampoline a lot. I taught myself how to do a backflip.
So this is a question a lot of people have asked me, even like my friends were talking about like schools reopening, and I have mixed feelings about this. On one hand, I understand like, okay, so like mental health, like you need to see people, you need human interaction. A lot of times people can't study online or on their own, and they need like the teacher to student interaction to excel properly. And like it's me, like even I sometimes book one-on-one meetings with my teacher because I just need someone to explain to me rather than just like read it off a screen. So in that sense, I understand why they're opening. But in the other sense, I also feel like, we're trying to curb the spread, decrease community spread. And so for opening them, there's just more people that are like, more people interacting with each other. So more chances of the virus spreading. So like, there's obviously pros and cons to it. And like, I don't have a fixed decision.
Well, I guess like my school has been open from the start. There was 2 weeks in January where we were all online, but my school has been open from the start. I don't know, I'm a little bit conflicted because the stuff that I enjoy about school is, obviously I like learning, but like the clubs and hanging out with my friends at lunch and, leaving at lunch to go get, a drink or something like that at McDonald's, just like hanging out with friends, staying late after school to finish a project, like just fun stuff you would do with your friends at school. That's like a good 60% of why school is fun. So I think that I admire the schools for really pushing to have kids in person. I think now I don't want to assume, but I feel like I'm a little bit of an outlier in that I know that a lot of kids did not do well with online. And through no fault of their own, but it's hard to do online for sure, and it's not an easy transition.
Really good, like having schools reopening, because I really get to interact with people, especially teachers, staffs, and friends. I'm a person who loves going to school, who loves to study, and who loves to learn. I'm also a person who likes experiential learning. So when the teachers do a lot of like Kahoot or maybe do some experiment in class, I just like obsessed with those. So I think it's really nice for schools to reopen, but at the same time, I'll be so concerned about like people might break the rule or like be not careful about the like restriction and stuff. But I believe people are getting used to it and doing a really good job on it.
I definitely miss traveling. I really wanted to go to lots of different places in Canada. So I've been to the west and the east coast, and obviously I live in Ontario, so I've been like around Ontario quite a bit, but I wanted to explore the other provinces and territories even, and I had plans this summer to go to Bali with some friends, but that didn't happen. So as soon as this pandemic is over, I'm gonna go to all the places that I haven't gotten the chance to go to, and I've had a lot of time to research in the pandemic, so I have some new destinations on my list as well. Like there's so many places in Europe and Asia that I want to visit. And then another just like more like a simpler thing is doing extracurriculars in person. Like it really has a sense of community and an emotional connection to one another that the online environment just doesn't really provide.
I definitely miss hanging out with my friends, and I'm sure this is the same with a lot of people, because being at home, it just feels like the days are like passing by, and sometimes I would just look back at the videos with my friends and just like miss having those moments.
I miss people watching in coffee shops and walking around farmers markets and hugging and dancing while not thinking about
I would tell myself that I should enjoy my time, because during March when Canada went to lockdown, my friends have to go back to the home country, and some of them are not coming back this year. So I would say I should have like treasure my time and take more pictures with them so that we can have more memories, as well as maybe like play with like focus on life more than study. I think it's really important to have like a balance.
I think I really would have encouraged myself to just enjoy that last time in school and with my friends, which, you know, that's such a normal thing that we never really would have thought to appreciate so much, like being able to see people in person all the time. But it's definitely something I would have told myself to enjoy a lot more.
To continue taking pictures and videos and just documenting moments, because I did find during the first lockdown that I couldn't remember a single day pre-pandemic. I wouldn't remember what I do at school, what I do with my friends. Maybe that's just a me problem, I don't know. But I did realize that I should take more pictures in the day, more videos, and every night journal or just document how my day went, things that I'm grateful for.
Don't wait. I feel like I took so many opportunities because there was a global pandemic going on, and so I would tell myself, don't wait until there's a pandemic, don't wait until an event changes your life if you wanted to do it in the first place. Like if I wanted to volunteer with a nonprofit, or I wanted to work with people internationally, but I was just too scared and I took the pandemic as like an excuse to just try new things, try new things without the pandemic, you know. Don't wait, because it's likely that in a non-pandemic environment, the outcome and experiences will be even more satisfying.
Well, hug someone, number one.
Definitely go to Canada's Wonderland.
To be honest with you, I just want to go to Disney World.
First thing I want to do is definitely take the bus downtown, get bubble tea, go shopping, and eat K barbecue with my friends.
I think a big thing for just like the grade 12 class of this year is a lot of universities have announced that they're planning to go back to in-person learning. Like, barring any major leaps in cases, in-person learning in September. And I think that will be like a really exciting transition for all of us.
I would either meet for a giant tea party picnic and frolic around in a field, or there used to be this Vancouver pillow fight day outside the art gallery, and it was extremely smiley and good-natured. So everyone would bring their own pillow, and it would be concealed until a specific time when the music would start, and we'd all agreed on the time, and then everyone brandishes their pillow. Yeah, it's a joyful fight between friendly strangers. So I hope they'll have one when it's safe.